You know, in my time on this platform, I realized that I could grow a following talking about things I like. But that begs the question, why do I even talk about stuff in the first place? Why does anyone really put themselves in front of a camera or a microphone to share their ideas with the world? I think it has to do with the quest for immortality. What does it mean to truly be immortal? Does it mean a sip from the cup of Christ that grants eternal youth? Or does it mean paying respects to the ideas of an individual long gone? Immortality is only achieved through the hearts and minds of others still living today, which is why movie stars from so long ago have grasped it in some form. YouTube then could be considered this, but scaled down on a more personal level. I start with this because it is a consistent theme throughout my favorite movie, The Blues Brothers.
Bullshit.
But you might be wondering how this comedy musical about blues music and car chases could have a deeper meaning on, how to maintain your legacy. Well, I'll tell you. It all sort of starts back when I'm filling out one of my gen ed courses for undergrad, which was Film 101, and I had a choice to write about one of my favorite movies. So I put it up to a poll on my community tab, and to no surprise at all, the majority of my audience wanted me to talk about the Lego Movie. Not only because it has an amazing story with heartfelt emotions, but also probably because my audience is entirely children. Since that movie had been analyzed to death, I shifted my focus to my favorite of the three, the Blues Brothers. Immortal figures of recognition in their own story, the Blues Brothers show us, through unending perseverance, music, and comedy, anything can be accomplished. The 40th anniversary of this movie's release date is the perfect time to talk about it. But let's take a step back. Let's talk about where it all began. Let's talk about SNL. The idea of the Blues Brothers spawned from a musical skit on Saturday Night Live in 1976, where, dressed as bees, the band performed the song King Bee. And to some buzzing reception, this put John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, who played the characters of Joliet Jake and Elwood Blues respectively, on the map as upcoming blues singers. If you listen to their old performances now, it's obvious they're not the best lead vocalists, but they bring a level of energy unparalleled compared to other performers of the age. As Jake and Elwood swarmed the scenery through knockout performances like Soul Man in 1978, it wouldn't be long until Hollywood greenlit a movie dedicated to this comedy duo and their band. But what would such a movie entail? The Blues Brothers is a crazy movie. At times it seems the film just moves from event to event, scene to scene, with bombastic explosions, music, and comedy following in their wake. But believe it or not, for a movie seemingly about nothing, it can have a deeper meaning and message. Directed by John Landis, with a screenplay from Aykroyd himself, the plot begins with Jake on parole from Joliet Correctional Center, being picked up by Elwood and brought to the orphanage where they grew up. The orphanage is about to foreclose unless $5,000 in property taxes are collected, and after some divine intervention, Jake comes up with the idea to get the band back together and play to pay off the debts. What starts as a simple traffic stop and incrimination by SCMODs,
State County Municipal Offender Data System,
results in a manhunt that scales exponentially to unimaginable proportions.
Use of unnecessary violence in the apprehension of the Blues Brothers has been approved.
The Blues Brothers establishes that it doesn't pull punches when it comes to being over the top. And the dichotomy between Jake's brash personality and Elwood's ingenuity make the duo bounce off each other perfectly. For all intents and purposes, this movie should have failed from the very beginning. After Universal gave the go-ahead, Dan Aykroyd wrote a 324-page screenplay, bigger than the Yellow Pages, that had no chance of being made into a film unless Landis distilled it down to something that was workable, which inadvertently proves that Aykroyd was probably always crazy even before Crystal Skull vodka. The movie ran behind schedule and over budget due to a myriad of reasons, including Belushi's cocaine shoots, excessive destruction of vehicles and property, and Belushi getting paid twice as much as Aykroyd. Some of the guest performers like Ray Charles and Aretha Franklin couldn't lip sync properly, but despite all of these setbacks, somehow it managed to turn into a cohesive experience.
It cost $27 million then, which is much more than what we got now, actually. But that was a huge amount then. That was probably like 60 now. And we did this epic. I mean, we had 34 cars going 110 miles an hour in downtown Chicago. I don't think you could do that again.
Immortality is a key component in the reputation of the Blues Brothers. Everyone knows who they are. They're the Blues Brothers, you know? And the ones who don't know are thwarted every time. The Memphis rhythm section with the New York horn section give it an instantly recognizable tone. And even outside the story, the Blues Brothers has a legacy of being a movie that accomplished the impossible, revitalizing interest in blues, getting the city of Chicago to allow movies to be filmed there after the Mayor Daley ban, trashing a mall 2 times over, and destroying countless cars are just a few firsts that this movie accomplished. And while we're on the topic of automotive destruction, you wouldn't think that the musical choice would fit a high-octane chase sequence, but it was done intentionally to make it seem as if these cars themselves were dancing to the rhythm and groove. In the true nature of making everything over the top, one of, if not the funniest incorporations in this movie is the inclusion of the Illinois Nazis.
Those bums won their court case, so they're marching today.
What bums?
The fucking Nazi party.
Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis.
I've always been a fan of the Mel Brooks approach when it comes to laughing at horrid iconography, because it's better for us as a culture to laugh at that imagery instead of fearing it. And the Blues Brothers shows a comedic take that you wouldn't expect to see in a movie that came out today. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I meant a good movie. Jojo Rabbit is worse Jojo.
What do you want this generation to know and feel about the Blues Brothers in 2005, 25 years later?
I just want them to enjoy it, that's all. You know, I mean, the test of anything is time. So you have to get perspective on stuff. So if something is really good or really has some kind of intrinsic value, it will 30 years from now. It will 40 years. So I'm hoping with a movie like this that you enjoy it.
The legacy we leave behind is what makes us truly immortal. It's the hearts that we touch and the people that we inspire. Belushi died at age 33 in 1982 of combined drug intoxication, which dealt a hit that the band could never repair. But if you go back to interviews and behind-the-scenes footage of everyone talking about John, they knew that despite his proclivities, he was someone that had your back if you were a friend. And I can honestly relate to that type of lifestyle, even if I disagree with how he would spend his leisure time. And this led me to take a trip to Elmwood Cemetery, a predominantly Greek cemetery in Illinois. This is where my grandfather, a member of the U.S. Navy and veteran of the Battle of Leyte Gulf, was buried, and has his name engraved along with other brave Greek Americans who served during World War II. It's honestly a very beautiful place, all things considered, with a layout reminiscent to the Washington Memorial. But about 10 meters from where my grandpa's headstone is the headstone of John Belushi. Now, I don't know why he's buried in the middle of a Greek cemetery, but I feel like this gives me even more personal connection to my favorite movie. Like I said earlier, today is the 40th anniversary of this film being released, and it's aged excellently. I want to make sure that John Belushi's legacy isn't forgotten, which is something that I would hope people would do for me one day. So if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend you do so. And if you have seen it, definitely check out the behind-the-scenes making of the movie on how they were able to pull off this film when they really shouldn't have been able to. I know this video is not like any of my other content, but this is personally for me. I'm expecting this video not to do particularly well. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there and share my interest on what I consider a cinematic masterpiece. I've been the Shuckmeister. I hope you all have a beautiful doing, and I'll see you all next time.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.